This is one of the darkest days in the history of Greater Manchester Police, if not the police service overall, because we have lost two deeply loved and valued colleagues, because they are part of our team. Policing is very much a family. These were two officers going about their normal duty. Like all officers, they went to a variety of incidents not knowing what it was that they would face. Clearly, the police service is not perfect. We know there have been a number of high-profile incidents. But below that, day in, day out, police officers go about their duty, go into dangerous situations, unexpected situations, show great bravery, great courage, and are with people at the very worst moments in their lives. And this is exactly what these two officers were doing.
Breaking news for you this hour. Two unarmed female police officers have been killed in a shooting in Manchester. A witness says 13 shots were fired as police went to arrest Dale Cregan in the Thameside area of the city. In a statement, Assistant Chief Constable Gary Shewan said, "A long and dark shadow has been cast across Greater Manchester, and my thoughts are with the officers' family, friends and colleagues. We will be doing everything we can to support them over the coming days and weeks." Live to the scene in Thameside in Manchester, Nick Martin there for us. Nick, what can you tell us?
Well, Kay, Manchester is this afternoon a city in absolute shock after the events of today. I'm in the Hyde area of Greater Manchester. I'm going to step out of the shot and just show you exactly what's going on. Now, down the road from where I am, Clarendon Road, is Hyde Police Station, where this incident came to an end when 29-year-old Dale Cregan, a man who had been on the run for more than a month, handed himself in to this police station. Now, an incident just a few miles away from here is what started all of this off, described by Greater Manchester Police as a routine police patrol, has ended in the deaths of two female police officers who were on duty unarmed when they walked into this incident. It prompted a huge reaction from Greater Manchester Police's tactical aid unit, a full-on firearms response. And neighbours in this area have described to us around 13 shots being fired this morning in this incident, described as completely chaotic by a neighbour I spoke to earlier. These two female police officers were, we understand, responding to a routine call when they were confronted by this firefight. We understand that a grenade was used in this incident. At first, the reports were that a female police officer had been killed and another female was critically injured. But we now know in the last half an hour that Greater Manchester have told us that it is with great sadness that that second female police officer has died as a result of her injuries. And a huge operation now underway, both criminally and forensically, to try and piece together what happened today.
Nick, why were these two women unarmed there on their own? There have been armed patrols in this area for several weeks, if not months now, haven't there? Reports that just a couple of minutes before this attack, these two police officers were in a local supermarket.
They were just a routine police patrol, wearing the kind of routine clothing that patrol demands. Yes, this area and other areas in Manchester have been patrolled particularly intensively over the last 6 or 7 weeks because Dale Cregan was a man, probably one of England's most wanted men by Greater Manchester Police, following the double murders of a father and son here back in the summer. And patrols had been stepped up. A huge publicity campaign had been launched by Greater Manchester Police. I attended several briefings on this subject over the course of the summer, but this was not that, we're told. This was two unarmed female officers going about a normal patrol when they very, very sadly stumbled into this incident. So they wouldn't have been armed. There would have been no cause for them to be armed because we are told that this was routine and nothing at all to do with the search for Dale Cregan. But unfortunately, they seem to have stumbled upon it.
OK, stand by if you would please, Nick. Let's go to Mike McCarthy, Greater Manchester police headquarters. Hello to you. I believe we might be hearing more from the police a little bit later on. But what more do we know about how Cregan managed to get away from the house and then subsequently gave himself up?
At the moment, the police are trying to work out, they say, the details themselves as to the precise sequence of events. I've just been speaking to them here at police headquarters at Newton Heath. They have confirmed that the two female police officers were responding to a routine incident. They say that they would simply not have sent unarmed police officers into a situation where they thought Dale Cregan might be present. As you've just been hearing there from Nick, Dale Cregan was very much on the wanted list as far as Greater Manchester Police are concerned. He's now being questioned on suspicion of the murder of 4 individuals, including those 2 female police officers. They've reiterated that what they were doing and what their presence was all about in that particular area had nothing to do with Dale Cregan. So at the moment we have no information as to exactly what the connection was, where exactly these shots came from, who fired them, how Dale Cregan managed to get away from that particular area, because as you say, Kay, he was arrested only when he walked into a police station. There has been a massive operation in Greater Manchester over recent months, and to trace the origins of this particular incident, you have to go back to at least the 25th of May, when a man called Mark Short, was shot dead in an incident in a pub called the Cotton Tree in Droylsden in Greater Manchester. Following that, his father, David Short, died in this grenade attack at a house in Clayton, and police offered a reward of £50,000 for information leading to the arrest of Dale Cregan and another individual who has since been arrested. That's how seriously they were taking this particular case. So at the moment we don't know exactly why those 2 unarmed officers were there, but police are indicating that there will be a further statement or a further news conference at some stage later this afternoon.
This is the estate where 2 young policewomen went to investigate reports of a burglary yesterday and were met with gunfire and a grenade. Fiona Bone was 32 and had been planning her wedding. 23-year-old Nicola Hughes was described as a great bobby, always smiling. Their colleagues began the investigation immediately, sealing off the area and searching the address the officers had been sent to. Police said 2 people from the house were being questioned, and soon after a man was driven away from a local police station where he'd handed himself in. Dale Cregan was wanted in connection with 2 murders earlier this year, and a £50,000 reward had been offered for information about him. Police activity at the house continued into the night, though the force is still reeling from the loss of the 2 young officers.
You can imagine on the police community here in Greater Manchester, this is absolutely devastating. And you can see from some from the officers, I think, will probably be shot here tonight. They still have to police the city. They still have to go out to work. They have to respond to this incident all the time with their own private grief over this.
Armed police had been deployed around the city for some time amid fears of a local gangland feud. So questions are being asked as to whether more should have been done to protect the 2 unarmed constables. Tributes to them have been laid at the scene of the attack after what's been described as one of the darkest days in British police history. Richard Lister, BBC News.
Shots fired at a car in North Manchester this afternoon, unrelated to yesterday's murders, but another reminder of the culture of guns and gangs that still infects parts of this city. The statistics will tell you that firearms offences are down here, but behind the figures remains the violent legacy of crime families and organised criminal gangs whose disputes can spill onto the streets in the most deadly fashion. Police have talked of a conspiracy of silence. Dale Cregan avoided capture for weeks. Even a £50,000 reward on his head would not loosen tongues. In the end, he gave himself up.
Hey, possibly because they're scared and they don't. I know it sounds silly, but no one likes a grass to that, really.
Maybe it's fear, maybe it's loyalties. If it's loyalties, then they've got bad loyalties.
In the east of the city, in an otherwise unremarkable neighbourhood, a small shrine to Mark and David Short, father and son, both murdered this year, attacks thought to have been carried out by one criminal family against another. Police launched a huge manhunt for Dale Cregan, who they suspected may have been hired to help with the hits. It now appears he evaded capture, holed up behind a pub just a 5-minute walk from where yesterday's murders occurred. This was probably Cregan's hiding place for some weeks. Neighbours say they found odd things in their bins recently. Somebody else's food rubbish and a milk bottle filled with urine. In the warped world of gangland politics, the issue can be less about what is right and wrong and more a simple case of whose side are you on. Facebook provides a notice board for those who saw Cregan as a hero. But today the BBC spoke to a man who claims he was on Cregan's hit list. His identity has been protected.
Some people looked up to Dale as a hero. People look up to people like that. I think everything will go back to normal now. I think he was the only loose cannon. If people was hiding, if they was hiding him, the 2 police officers wouldn't have been dead. And that's the end of the story. So, a lot of people have got a lot of questions to answer.
Police today conceded that the threat from inter-crime family feuding was still very real and that many other individuals had reasons to be fearful of the risks of reprisals. But officers are also concerned that a heavy-handed response might end up making matters worse. So a key question for the police is how you attack the cancer of gangland culture without damaging the very communities the police are trying to serve. Police say they've had significant success in closing down both low-level local crews involved in drug dealing and some of the organised criminal enterprises operating in Manchester. But the last 2 days have been a tragic reminder of the toxic values which persist. Mark Easton, BBC News, Manchester.
She told us that she's going to try the wedding dress and she's very excited about it, and she's totally in love with her partner, and they were looking forward to share their life together.
She absolutely enjoyed her job 100%. She just loves the thrill of not knowing one day to the next what new adventures would happen, and by all accounts, like all her colleagues, loved working with her as well because she was such a bubbly person.
She's finding the work she was doing really interesting and challenging, but and yeah, she was really looking forward to getting married, and she was very settled down, very she just seemed happier than I'd seen her for a long time.